How's it going, guys? Winner Kills here, and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Duel Archives. Today we've got a pretty exciting match, actually our first YCS finals that we're going to be covering here in this series, and we're also in the July 2015 format. Now, last time we were in 2017, we jumped a few years ahead. And we did Blue Eyes versus DDD from the ARG Hartford finals, where the legendary Jeff Jones was piloting the DDD deck. It was a really interesting match with a rather interesting end to it. So if you guys haven't seen the last episode, I'll leave a link to it down in the description or up in the top right. And of course, I'll leave a link to the original video we're going to be commentating over today in the description as well. And yeah, we are YCS Prague from, I believe, July 2015, and we have Burning Abyss, Valens Latour versus Dennis Bakiri, Burning Abyss versus Nekroz. This was a really interesting matchup, one that I wanted to cover specifically, Nekroz versus BA in some kind of top cut or finals match, just because it is a really interesting matchup. I feel like on paper, most people would think that Nekroz, the really strong deck that it was at the time, would be the favored winner, but surprisingly, Burning Abyss had a really great matchup, and there was a lot of really cool cards that could be tacked into the BA deck to give it a better hand against the Nekroz strategy. So really excited to go over and sort of commentate and react to this one. I actually already did this episode, but there was no audio recorded from this mic, so here we are again re-recording it. But I don't mind, because this is actually a really good match, and some of you guys may have seen this one before. Yeah, this is a really cool format. I think at this time I was playing Burning Abyss myself. So let's take a look at Dennis's opening hand here. Is Manju, the 10,000 hand, Senju, Effect Veilor, Prep, and Shuret. So looks like a really solid hand. He's got 1, 2, 3 search cards, 4 if you want to count the Senju, but obviously you can only use one of them this turn. So the Manju is going to get normal. That's going to add Kaleidoscope. Then we're going to see Prep. Prep's going to go through. Of course, no Ash Blossom to worry about at this point. And that's going to add Bryanak. And Bryanak's going to discard itself to go ahead and add Nekroz and Valkyris. We're going to see Kaleidoscope get played. That's going to tribute off that Shuret, which will basically act as the full requirement for the ritual summon of a Nekroz monster, in this case Valk. And since it was tributed, he'll get to search a Nekroz warrior monster as a result. And I believe he's going to go ahead and add Clausulus here is what he goes ahead and searches. You could, of course, grab Bryo, but he's already used Bryo this turn, unless he wants to play really conservative. He can, save the Bryo for later, for next turn. But yeah, he's just going to go ahead and use Valk here, and he's going to tribute off Clausulus and the Manju. Now, it's interesting that he tributed off the Clausulus. He could have held it to search a mirror, obviously. But the graveyard setup does kind of make sense as well. He's got a 3 and a 6 in the grave for a future Trish play. This also reminds me of one very common play that a lot of Nekroz players would do if they suspected they were playing the mirror match, and that was to use Valk to tribute itself and whatever monster they had in the field, probably Daigusto Emerald or Manju, clear their field and draw 2, so they would not be able to get Trish on the following turn, because getting Trished would basically mean you would lose the game at that point, at least in a mirror match situation, because you can hit really powerful cards off the field like Unicorn, like Valk, hit things like Shuret or mirrors out of the grave, and whatever you get out of the hand is bonus at that point. Especially if you had a Valk, because that means you're just going to OTK right through their empty field. But looks like he probably knows that he's not playing the mirror match, even though the top 32 breakdown for this particular event was 24 Nekroz, 6 Cliffort, and 2 BA, and 1 BA actually making it to the final here. Yeah, I mean, this goes to show how well he represented, like, Nekroz was. Like, that deck was insane. Really strong deck. But Tour Guide is really good too for the burning of this deck, as his opponent literally slaps it with an Effect Veilor. I want to see that one more time. He literally just says absolutely a hell no to that Tour Guide. And he's lucky there's no other extenders right now that are being heavily played, like Kagamucha Knight or Psychic Wielder and Tracker, which obviously aren't out yet. Yeah, that's a really good card to be able to hand trap there with Effect Veilor. Very few hand traps that were in the game right now. I believe Ghost Ogre was out. I think that was the first of the Ghost Girls that was released. But Veilor, Maxi, and you also had Droll and Lock were very still prevalent, and DD Crow was also pretty good too. prevalent hand traps at the time. Ghost Ogre really wasn't too favored though right off the get-go. But Valens is going to just set 2 after that, one being Wing Blast, the other being Mind Crush. Mind Crush is kind of like a main decked tech to specifically counter the Nekroz deck because it does so much searching. Obviously take one of their best cards that they end up searching and rip it out of their hand. And you get the hand knowledge as well. So very, very good tech card here. And I believe, yeah, as you can see, Dennis is also playing Danko Seka, which makes sense too, because Danko is also kind of a hard counter for the Burning Abyss deck too, with the amount of traps that they play in the deck. It looks like we're going to see Wing Blast on the normal summon of the Senju, which is a rather interesting play. I mean, it is going to give them the discard outlet, and that's why, cards like Wing Blast and Mind Crush are played, because they can act as discard outlets. Mind Crush, if you call wrong, can use it as a discard outlet as well. Granted, discards randomly, but if your hand is full of BAs, it's not really random at that point. But this is an interesting time to use Wing Blast. I get why, maybe, just so you can basically shuffle the Valk back into the extra deck, take less damage, and get what is essentially kind of a pot of greed off of the field. So I guess that's why he did it right here. And yeah, it would make the most sense to if he was going to Wing Blast this Valk at any point in this turn, I guess it would make the most sense to do it on the summon effect of Senju, because, it will go back to the top of the deck, but when he goes to search with Senju, he'll have to shuffle the deck afterwards, and that Valk will no longer be on the top of the deck. So kind of acting like a better Wing Blast there, just putting it right back to the deck instead of stacking it to the top. So yeah, Book of Eclipse is also in the main deck of Dennis as well, which is pretty interesting. Book of Eclipse is just kind of a good coverall removal card that was very heavily played right now. Outed a lot of boards, outed Unicore, outed big fields that might just OTK you. You didn't really care about the draws that your opponent would get after the fact. If it meant you were able to live a turn, you could keep playing. I know people were playing this as a Jin out, but I don't know if Jin was actually legal at this point. I think Jin might have already been banned by this time in July, which makes sense because the Jin Nekroz is a very disgusting deck. I had the privilege to play it for a little bit, and then I think Prep got hit after that, and then Brio went to 2, and then it got hit even more so after that. But yeah. Change all face-up monsters in the field to face-down defense position. During the end phase, flip all face-down monsters, defense position monsters your opponent controls face-up, and if you do, your opponent draws a card for you. So, it does have a little bit of a downside to it, but, if it gives you an extra turn, it gives you an extra turn. If it lets you play, it lets you play, right? So, why not go ahead and play it? There's that Tour Guidey Search off Skarm, giving them that really good follow-up here, and it looks like he drew a Vanity's Emptiness for turn. Insane card to have right here. And, the Book of Eclipse has a little more utility in the Nekroz deck, specifically because Manju and Senju alike, if they are flip summoned, they can go ahead and activate their effects again. So not only are you stopping yourself from dying essentially in the battle phase, or you're outing a powerful boss monster that may not be able to be outed by other means, Senju and Manju, they can get flipped back down on your turn. You can flip them up and get your searches. And I guess also for something you'll see in this particular match, that was often I don't want to say often, but was starting to be teched more and more in the Burning Abyss deck. Book of Eclipse is a really good out to it as well. Dante's going to mill through its Raigeki Break, Vanities, and Skarm. Yeah, hitting the Skarm is great. Even if you hit no other BAs at that point, just hitting Skarm alone for the end phase follow-up is incredible. There's Book of Eclipse, as you can see. The synergy there. Buying him a turn, leaving that Senju on field. He'll get a search with it next turn. So long as he has no other way to remove the set monster. Looks like he's going to set the Vanities as he would. And I think they're wondering right now what I would imagine, how the end phase things are going to play out. Are his monsters going to flip up and draw first, or is he going to get Skarm search first? So yeah, I think as far as I'm concerned, end phase effects you can order however you want to. But I don't know if it's because it's his opponent's card, he can, it has to go first or whatever, but I don't think that's the case. So he's going to go ahead and Skarm first. which makes the most sense because you want to deck thin before you draw, and then he's going to go ahead and draw 2 more cards. Just absolutely giving him so much hand advantage right now. Like, it's absolutely crazy. But now he's going to go ahead and normal summon the Danko Sekka, and then he's going to go ahead and flip up the Senju right beforehand, and that's going to go ahead and get him a search of a ritual monster. And it's going to be able to be, you know, uninterrupted here, pretty much guaranteed, unless he has an effect Veiler of his own. And Valen's right now has Upstart, Double Mathematician, Tour Guide, and Farfa. Very, very solid hand to have here. And another thing, too, with the help of the Book of Eclipse, you know, Valen's was not able to get into a Downer Magician, which is really clutch, because Downer Magician actually kind of plays around Bryo. Because Bryo, for those that don't know, has an effect other than just discarding itself to add a Nekroz Ritual Monster, or Nekroz Monster. It can actually bounce 2 monsters your opponent controls that were special summoned from the extra deck. And that's a problem for Burning Abyss, obviously, because your Dantes aren't hitting the grave, but putting the Downard over top of it will ensure that the Downard goes back to the extra deck and that the Dantes go to the grave, giving you those cards to add back. So yeah, one of the main reasons to play Downer Magician. Obviously, nowadays, people would play Downer to get more materials for Zeus, because as we know, Zeus is cracked. And I think if you were to tell either of these guys that Zeus or Triple Tactic Silence would be a card at some point in the future, they'd probably tell you you're on crack. And rightfully so. They're pretty crazy cards. But, yeah, it looks like the Senju is going to go ahead and add Clauselus. Clauselus is going to go ahead and pitch to add a Nekroz Speller Trap, which, a little bit of trivia, we still don't have a Nekroz Trap to this day. To this day. And a Bryo being pitched to go ahead and add a Nekroz Monster. It's going to be Trishula here, so yeah, we're going to see a Trish setup. He's got Sure Engrave, which again can act as the entire tribute on, you know, Engrave or in hand on field, whatever. So we could Trish with that, but he's got the 3 and the 6 Engrave in the terms of Clauselus and Bryo. He actually has 2 instances of Clauselus and Bryo. Mirror pitching 2 or banishing 2, a 3 and a 6 for a 9. And one of the most powerful plays the Nekroz deck was capable here is Ritual summoning out the Trish, banishing 1 from grave, banishing 1 from field, and 1 card from the hand at random too, obviously. And he's going to hit a Mathman and the Seer off the field. And hitting the Seer makes the most sense because if you don't banish the Seer, you run over the Seer, banish the Dante, and then Seer revives Skarm, and you get another Skarm Search, which you don't really want to give him a Skarm Search at this point, especially since he like basically went +3 at the end of his turn because of the help of Book of Eclipse and Skarm. So he'll go into the battle phase, kill the Dante. It's going to add back Skarm, Senju, and Danko punch in for, I think, 14 and 17 alike. And that will probably do it for his turn. He could probably, go into, if you wanted to, a rank 4 here, like Daigusta Emerald or Lavavel Chain, which may have also been banned at this point. I'm not sure. But you don't want to give up the Danko. The Danko is giving you a ton of leverage at this point. It's going to prevent him from activating his set cards and also preventing him from setting any more cards either. Yeah. One important thing to note is that we can't see what's in Dennis's hand at the moment, but if he doesn't have Valk, this sort of Danko lock is going to be not much longer for this world because Dante will be able to beat over this board very, very easily. At least the Danko, which is really the only threat at this point. You know, the Trishula is no longer a threat. The Senju is obviously no longer a threat. You don't have to worry about Book of Eclipse, otherwise his Danko wouldn't be in play. He's going to go ahead and normal summon Skarm. Or no, normal summon Tour Guide, not Skarm. Which I believe at this point is the 3rd and final Tour Guide in the deck. Crazy that he's already gone through all Tour Guides at this point. That's going to summon out Graph. We'll probably see him link into Cherubini. Nope. Good old Dante. Attach the Graph. Mill 3. Hits another Graph, an Upstart, and a Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. And we'll see what our Graph is going to summon. It's going to be another copy of Seer, which Seer Dante is really, really strong, as we know. Then he's going to go ahead and Upstart after he deck thins a little bit through his BA engine. Battle phase, Seer is going to get over the Senju. Seer at 16, and then Dante over the Danko for a little bit of damage as well. Of course, end of battle phase, Dante turns the defense via his own effect, and we may see a Downer Magician, and it looks like Valens has a Farfa, Mathman, Skarm, Libic, Skarm in hand, so he's got tons of BA names, But they are kind of locked out of being used right now because he has 2 set back row. You can't summon the BAs from hand while you have spell or traps on your field. So that'll slow him down a little bit, but he's got everything he needs. I feel like he's still in a very, very good position, especially with still having Mind Crush Emptiness set. He could have used the Mind Crush at any point already, but he's been holding it, and holding it. Same thing with Dennis. He's also been holding this MST, which I think he's had for a few turns. Or he might have just drawn it. But either way, very, very solid card to have here. Be able to out Vanity's Emptiness. Because if he sees the emptiness, he can go ahead and just MST, hit it, you know, and continue to play. Because an emptiness on a ritual spell is going to hurt quite a bit. And it's also probably a good card to hold in general, just because emptiness is at 3 here, I think. And it's a card you should definitely be expecting. You can't worry about getting sacked by it just because, like, it's a one-of, like it was at some point. But yeah, you got to expect and respect the emptiness here. So holding on to that MST, I think is probably the best thing. And it looks like the Trish is going to get over the Dante. He'll get to add 1 back. And the advantage just continues to pile up for Valens here. And Dennis has the MST in play, or in hand still, not setting it here. Effect Veiler and Bryo. And so Bryo is good, but like Bryo on its own is not going to get him anything, which is the problem. If you think about it, Burning Abyss technically is the 1-card combo deck in this instance, where Burning Abyss Nekroz requires a lot more cards to be able to make the plays it needs to make. You need to see Manju or Senju. You need to see Bryo. Prep of Rights certainly helps as well. And those are 2 to 3 cards you need to see in the opening hand. Granted, you can play a lot of copies of them at 3 and things like that. But, you know, any 2 BAs will get his engine going. Tour Guide will get his engine going. Or even just Mathematician. Dump Libic. Libic summons 1 out of hand. Make a Dante. There you go. And, yeah. Speaking of tech cards I was talking about earlier, I believe Valens has just drawn it and is Mass Change the second. That card was absolutely insane. I remember teching it in my Burning Abyss deck. I think, like, I want to say in like January or February of 2015. I was playing, I think there's a deck profile on my channel. It's called like Dark Law Abyss, like some really edgy name. But like it was so good, especially against Nekroz, which like Dark Law is like almost the ultimate counter to a deck like Nekroz. It also countered Satellar Knight, so all the searching that it did, and kept him out of the grave because it was just a walking macro. Like, the card was insane. So easy to get into and triggers your BAs when you, you know, send it off for Mass Change. Normal summoning Libic, and we'll see him go into the Wind-Up Zen Matey? No, not Zen Matey. What is this card? I need to look this card up real quick. This is Wind Up, because I remember this card when I first started playing, was like a really, really poppin' rank 3. Like it was like the top Wind Up Zen Mains. Yeah, this face-up card in the field would be destroyed. You can detach a material from this card instead. And then during the end phase, if this effect was activated, this turn, target a card in the field and destroy it. So like, yeah, basically, and how much attack does it have? It has only 1,500 defense. Or 1,500 attack and 2,100 defense. So he could go ahead and attempt to crash into the Trish and detach and then get a pop, which I think is what he's going to do right now. But Valens, or Dennis, does have a very clutch Veiler to go ahead and stop that effect from activating and clearing a card in the end phase. And it will also get him a free detach if he wanted to, but it looks like he's just going to redeclare. Well, not redeclare, because you have the Veiler in the main phase, so he's probably like, before you leave main phase, I'm going to Veiler the Zen Mains. It's Zen Mains. Wind Up Zen Mains. Keep thinking of Zen Moyo and Zen Matey. I always forget Zen Mains. But looks like that will do it for his turn. Not getting the detach effect there. He might have gone through all 3 Dantes. No, there's no way. It looks like he's drawn Decisive Armor per turn, which is not the greatest draw. And the Zen Mains is also going to pose another problem that, like, he has to get over it via some other means, or else he's just not going to, like, he's just going to get punished for it. Tries to get over it by battle, he's just going to detach, and that'll equate to a pop in, you know, at the end of the turn. He's got to get over it via some other means or negate it with Unicorn, which looks he's trying to grab now off the Brio, but even then you don't have much of a play with just this Brio alone. Yes, you can use Unicorn's graveyard or discard effect, which he is going to use, which is going to add the mirror. And yeah, could be setting up for a really strong play because he did save the Shurret in the grave, and he does have Decisive Armor in hand. And Decisive Armor can basically banish a set card, which could be really strong in this instance for whatever those two back row are. But we do know Valens has a Mind Crush, which is really, really good. Because obviously when he plays the mirror, or if he adds the mirror, he can just go ahead and Mind Crush out of his hand. I think it would probably be better to... Well, no. It would be much safer to just Mind Crush now, because he doesn't know what ritual monster he has in hand. Because it could literally be anything because he has the Shurret engraved. So... yeah, looks like he is definitely thinking about activating one of his back rows. He could either go for the Vanities or the Mind Crush, and that looks like what he's exactly going to go for. Mind Crush, hitting the mirror, and revealing that he does have Decisive Armor and Emptiness in hand. Now he's just going to turn the Trish to defense, because there's no reason to try and trigger the Zen mains right now, because he'll just attach Seer in the end phase, which is so strong to get back to Dante. And he draws a Foolish Burial for turn. So yeah, this game is definitely over at this point. It's just a matter of how long will it take to get there. Like, his hand is stacked right now. He has 7 cards in hand. Like, if you're my man Dennis right now, you're just hoping for some godly top deck. I don't even know what that top deck could be. You're probably hoping for a Prep. Prep would be your best top deck, I think. And yeah, Prep is the best top deck. So that's probably why he hasn't scooped. But, you know, Vanity's Emptiness is Vanity's Emptiness. We're going to see actually a really cool play here that Valens is going to do. He's going to normal summon Farfa. That's going to trigger Farfa to self-destruct since there's a non-BA on field. And that is going to use Farfa's effect to banish the Zen mains. Hitting, and that'll allow, you know, for him to get his Libic and Seer in the grave. So we'll get Libic and Seer effect, which is going to allow him to kind of pop off quite a bit here. And we'll see what he goes ahead and brings out off of these two. Can bring out any level 3 Dark Fiend from hand, and it has its effects negated. He's going to bring out a Graph from the grave off of the Seer, and Libic is going to summon, I believe he summons another Graph out of hand. Because he had Skarm in hand too, which he could have technically summoned, but he's just going for the double Graph. He's going to mill 3 Mind Crush, Upstart, and another Mass Change a second. So if he didn't know his opponent was on the Mass Change, he definitely does know now. And that is just a very, very looming threat at this point. The Graph summoning out another Seer, keeping that sort of Seer Dante rotation in play. And probably going to go into the battle phase now to attempt to clear the Trish. But first, he's going to make Darklaw, which makes sense. Darklaw gets over that. The Trish will be banished, and then 25 in from Dante. Now, we know he has Decisive Armor in hand. Now, I really can't think of a reason. I can think of one reason as to why he didn't Decisive Armor the Trish to make it so it would gain 1,000 attack and defense, especially in damage step. I mean, he could have left the Trish in attack, too. But the problem with leaving the Trish in attack is that he's got the Zen main. So, like, okay, that makes more sense. Yeah, like, he could have Decisive Armored the Trish, making it so that neither the Darklaw nor Dante could get over it. But the only reason I could see why he'd let the Trish go is so he could use his mirrors and grave. And I guess the mirrors engraved, for basically those that don't know, each Nekroz ritual spell, Kaleidoscope, Mirror, and Cycle have a graveyard effect. While you control no monsters, you can banish that spell, and then another Nekroz card from your grave to add a ritual spell with a different name than the one you were just using. So that makes most sense as to why he didn't sort of like protect his Trish there, so he can go ahead and use those search effects in the grave, because we know he has Mirror and we know he has Kaleidoscope. Which is basically just a very easy way to, like, bait out the Darklaw without, like, using any of your real searchers. But yeah, Dante into Downard with the Darklaw. Yeah, it looks like he's going to set another card, which I think is Foolish Burial. He's actually deciding to set Foolish. Which I think makes sense because Darklaw's on board. It says once per turn, what does this say? Any card sent to your opponent's graveyard is banished. So it's a one-sided macro. So like, he just setting the Foolish as a bluff. He doesn't even need the Foolish. So he's gonna go ahead and see the Darklaw there. Like, wow, this is a one-sided macrocosmos. That kind of hurts. I mean, it doesn't hurt Nekroz that much because all the Nekroz cards that discard, they don't need to hit the grave. They just say discard this card. So that's really, really strong. And we're going to see him MST, and that actually ends up hitting the Foolish, which is really rough. Not hitting the real threat there, which is Emptiness. I don't know, like, is there a reason you shotgun MST here? I don't think there's a reason you shotgun MST. I think that was just a waste of an MST. But it looks like he's going to go ahead. And if he keeps, listen to this, he keeps the MST in hand, he has more cards in hand, less likely chance for Valence to hit the card he doesn't want him to hit out of his hand, and he just drew Unicorn, which is a pretty solid card to have. Actually, think about it this way. If we rewind for a bit, before my man shotguns the MST for seemingly no reason, we know he has Mirror engraved, and we know he still has Shuret engraved. If he just starts by pitching the Unicorn that he topped, yes, it'll get banished. You can go ahead and add back the Mirror. Your opponent adds a card from their deck to their hand, because Darklaw only triggers when you're adding a card from deck to hand. So you can go ahead and add back the Cycle, or the Mirror. Play Mirror, banish Shuret, summon Decisive Armor, and if he chains Emptiness to the Mirror, you just chain Mystical Space Typhoon, and that clears the Emptiness, and the Decisive Armor comes through, banishing the set, which would be a Foolish Burial in this case, and then allowing you to get over the Darklaw. Now that does come at the negative of not being able to use your Mirrors in grave, but like, I don't think using the Mirrors really matters so much here. Just because he doesn't have like a lot of card advantage in hand. I mean, getting Cycle would be really good, but like, how is he going to cycle if he doesn't have Shuret? Well, I guess he could pitch the Unicorn, get Cycle, and try to Trish. I think that's what he's probably trying to do, is go for the Trish play here. But even if you're going for the Trish, which I respect, that's also a good line because you can go Unicorn, add back the Shuret, and then Mirrors engraved to grab a Cycle. Hopefully the Cycle doesn't get hit. Play Cycle, tribute the Shuret, summon Trish, banish 3, Shuret gets you Bryo. Much better position, right? But like, that's going to play right into the Darklaw. And even if both plays are valid, why shotgun the MST right there? Like, he already milled an MST, or a Vanities earlier, so he knows it's in his deck. That just seems very questionable. I think there's definitely a couple lines of play there. I think the Shuret routes, I think the route that he's doing right now will probably yield a much higher chance of making a comeback here. And I think he got very unlucky in this instance too, because he actually ended up hitting the Cycle out of his hand, which is the last card he wanted to hit. Well then that raises another question. I mean, does he have another Cycle in deck though? That's the real question. Because if he has another, he doesn't have another Cycle in deck. Okay, so now I have another question. Why not start with the Kaleidoscope, banishing Clausulus, adding Mirror as a bluff that is going to trigger Darklaw's mandatory effect, and then, you know, it's a very tricky situation because there's already a couple of cards in hand that you don't want to get hit. You don't want your Unicorn to get hit. You can't just start with Unicorn to grab back Shuret, because if the Shuret gets hit out of your hand, then the plan kind of falls apart. Either way, I guess he could have banished his Mirror from grave to get a Kaleidoscope that gets hit, and then banish the Kaleidoscope and something else, or the Mirror in his grave, something else, grab Cycle. Cycle comes to your hand for free. You can't Darklaw again. Yeah, there's just like, I feel like if I had more time to think about that, like, I feel like he could have definitely played through this so much better. But regardless, why would you shotgun MST like that? Because now he's trying to activate mirror, and yeah, that's just game. Like, emptiness on the mirror is just game. I don't know why he doesn't just shotgun MST. This guy's probably saying, right, yeah, he's like, yeah, I had the MST, I just literally punted the game. I don't know what I was thinking. Because he had the two lines. One was to go for the decisive armor, or the other one was a little bit more greedy, trying to go for the Trish, adding back the cycle. And there's only two problems there. With the Trish route, it would have started by adding back the Shuret off of the... Yeah, no, it's rough because the dark... It just all depends on what his Dark Law hits, I guess. But, like, still, why not just MST and wait for the emptiness? That's the thing that doesn't make the most sense. All right, let's get into game 2 here. And I would imagine... Okay, Burning Miss is going first here, which I guess makes sense because if Valens doesn't play around Trish, it's going to allow Dennis to have a very, very strong turn. So we're going to see Upstart into Foolish. Foolish dump Graph. Graph is going to go ahead and summon. Valens opening double Mash Chain, Effect Failure, Foolish, and Seer. The Mash Chain second is just insane. That in of itself might even be a blow. He's got the double Seer under the Dante, which is really strong. He's going to go ahead and Seer, bring back Graph, which is going to be fusion fodder at this point for Mash Chains a second. Yeah, just going to set one Mash Change here. And he's going to MST right off the... Dude, this guy can't hold on to his MSTs. He's going to chain Mash Change a second. Tribute off the Graph. Discarding the other Mash Change second for a Dark Law. That's going to trigger Graph. And now you've got to start your turn playing into this. Very, very rough. Dennis has Twister, Prep of Rights, Shuret, Nekroz, of Bryanak, Twister. Twister's very interesting too. So I guess the Twister is okay because Twister is basically like a pseudo MST, but only for face-ups, and you also have to pay 500 life points. It is a quick play. There's Prep. Like, probably the strongest card in your entire deck right there. And it will trigger the Dark Law. And Valens has an Effect Veiler in hand still. Really, really strong. He's probably like, go ahead and normal summon Manju. I dare you. Because, like, even if he does have a Manju Senju follow-up right here, like, he just punishes it with the Veiler. And the Dark Law is going to punish the Prep anyways, no matter how you sequence it. Yeah. We'll see what he adds here off this Prep. Probably going to be Bryo. And Dark Law is going to go ahead and just fire one out of his hand. I love the way Valens picks the card, too. Most people just roll dice. He just flips it face up. He's like, I don't care. Whatever card I pick, I pick. He didn't even... That's funny. He didn't even let him put all the cards down on the table. Did you see that? Valens is a savage. Valens Latour. I think I'm pronouncing that right. Look at 1, 2, 3. He just doesn't even care. He's like, just get it over with already. Like, I'm just gonna banish that one. Wow. Also, I gotta say, this Valens, he's been so, like, stoic the entire game. This man has been all over the place. I get everybody would handle this type of situation differently, but he's just, sometimes it looks like he's got the death stare, man. He's just like, come on, I'm gonna win this game. I want to win this YCS already. And he sets when it passes. So yeah, it looks like he added Clausulus off the Prep, and that got hit. His Dark Laws have been insane, I gotta say. Hitting the cycle, which was so incredibly huge. Yeah, like I already said, if he didn't hit that cycle, or if he would have just added a bluff mirror first and didn't blow the MST, game 1 would have went very differently. But man likes to shotgun the MSTs. End phase Scarm for Tour Guide. Yeah, this is where things are gonna just absolutely just spiral out of control here. Set Twister is not doing anything. I'm surprised he hasn't seen Emptiness of his own yet. Yeah, and it looks like Valens drew Emptiness for turn. Getting the Search of Tour Guide already. Still has that effect there. Didn't even need to use it last turn. And it's going to summon out the Graph. And we could see another rank 3 here, but it looks like we're just going to see him use Dante, detaching Seer, revealing 3. A Scarm among one of those cards. So the Scarms are crazy too. He's hitting Scarm after Scarm. 1,000, I think, 12 from Graf, and then 24 and 25. Dennis is at 9,000, so that extra upstart is going to help him out a little bit. But he's going to be able to go into Mech Equip Engineer and Downer to play around the Brio. And that Mech Equip Engineer is basically going to allow him to turn, I think, quick effect one of his monsters to defense. And then for the rest of the turn, it can be destroyed by battle or card effect, which is nuts. So that Dark Law is not being destroyed by battle or card effect next turn. And yeah, makes the Downered, and that'll do it for his turn. And he picks up Shuret or Brio for turn, one of the two, or Valor. But I mean, with Brio and Shuret in hand, like, Brio could grab Clausulus, Clausulus could grab Cycle, but everything's banished at that point. So I think... Oh, okay, so he drew Valkyris for turn. I have no idea what cards he's drawn for turn. I keep adding cards to his hand. So he's got Valk in hand, too. He's trying really hard to think here. Really, really hard. This is a tough situation. Like, I can't deny this. If you're Dennis in this situation, this is, like, so stressful. This is such a tough decision. And Nekroz is already a hard enough deck to play with how many options you have to search. How many different, like, lines you can take to get to cards. You know, you can go, like, Brio to Clausulus to this, or you can go Brio to Shuret, or Brio to Dance Princess. Like, so many options. They all lead to various different things. But he is going to add Dance Princess. I'm not sure what his line is here. I really don't know. I mean, he has Valk in hand. I want to say Dance Princess lets you add back stuff from the banished zone. Yeah, this card is distributed by a card effect. You can target one of your banished Nekroz monsters. Add it to your hand. So yeah, that's going to probably try to help him play around this Dark Law, getting back his Clausulus. Or his Brio, which we already know he still has, or he already just used Brio, so he could get back Clausulus, which helped. And he's got Valk, so he's probably trying to find a way to get to Valk, tribute the Dance Princess, draw some cards, and then use the Dance Princess to get one back. But with the set that he has right now, and Dark Law in play, like, this is so rough. Gonna trigger Dark Law. Hits an effect Valor. But, like, yeah, I don't see what he does in this situation. I don't know what he was hoping for. Maybe he's just trying to play it out to his fullest extent. But yeah, that's going to be the handshake. Valen's becoming a YCS champion, 2-0ing his opponent on Nekroz with Burning Abyss of all things. Both decks relatively new. Nekroz was the newer of the decks, but obviously shout outs to Dennis for, you know, going all the way on getting second place. And of course, congrats to Valen for being the YCS champion. YCS Prague 2015. And that is going to wrap it up for this episode of the Duel Archives. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, be sure to leave a like. I actually think this recording went better than the first one, so that's a plus. So if you guys want to see more of my content, click on one of the videos popping up on the bottom of the screen right now, and we'll see you guys in the next one. And as always, a huge shout out goes to all of the members that support this channel, and a special thanks goes to our Divine level channel members, and they are Cadillacs84, Pony Stark, and Keith Siggers. Thank you guys so much as always for your extremely generous support of this channel.